encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network. Hello and welcome to Preachers in Training, the podcast on which we discuss all things preaching and ministry. I'm Robert Hatfield. We're coming to you from the exhibit hall floor in Sevierville, Tennessee at Polishing the Pulpit. We're enjoying getting to sit down with some guys and have some good conversations about preaching. And today is going to be no exception. I get to talk with Dean Thompson, who's no stranger to us here. Welcome back, Dean.
Oh, thank you, Robert.
Wait a minute. I got to unmute your mic.
Oh,
go ahead.
There we go.
It's
there
like this is my first time. I've never done this before.
Man, you're letting the people know this is not your first rodeo.
I'm
It's
sorry.
all good. Hey, man, it's always good to see and visit with you, man.
Yeah, it's great to be with you.
Always a great occasion. PTP 2025, Sevierville.
Yes.
Sevierville.
That's right.
We got to add a little modifier.
We
at
got
the end
all
of it
these
because
PTPs now. Nobody knows what's
who
going
knows
on.
what we will be in the next 10 years.
That's true.
We'll be in Louisville.
Okay.
We'll be in Los Angeles.
Are you breaking news right now?
I'm
or
not
you're
the
just
prophet
pontificating?
nor the son of one.
Okay. Okay.
But we're growing and expanding, so we will see.
Good.
But no, it's always a good time to be together. In all
Absolutely.
seriousness. So I appreciate the opportunity to be with you once again. And,
How's PTP going for you?
It's been great.
Good.
They say there's a thing called PTP tired. Not there yet.
Okay.
But
Oh, man, I've been there since Saturday.
I've been going around telling people, it's one thing, you kind of feel guilty because you don't get to do everything. But then
Sure.
again, you don't want to be doing everything because, like, your mind would just explode. And I think the organizers, the directors have done a good job at kind of spacing things out so that people don't feel the schedule is so crammed.
Good.
But overall, it's just been great, man. I've
Good.
really enjoyed talking to people that you don't really see on a normal basis. And that's what I truly get the most out of it, is that somebody that's where you are or in Henderson, or somebody that's even in New York, meet people from Canada. Like, you don't get that often.
No.
Like, speaking is great, but I tell people all the time that I like coming to speak to your congregation, but the most beautiful thing is that I get to love on you, hug you, and it's just a small glimpse of what heaven would be like, and I really appreciate it. So it's been a great time for me. I'm like a kid in a candy store, just seeing everybody and all the great vendors, and it's been great.
Well, we appreciate you, Dean. You're an encourager, and always leave encouraged when we've been with you. You work with the University Church of Christ in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes, still going strong.
Good.
Still going strong.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about fostering deep connections within a congregation. And, this is, I like this topic. It can be so difficult to get beneath the surface when we only see each other for several hours on 2 days a week. And we may have other opportunities to get together for special occasions and things like that. But most of the time we do the hi, how are you, good, how are you, great to see you next time kind of conversations. And we don't ever get the opportunity to get beneath the surface. And when I read the first century church, man, in the book of Acts, they had all things in common. They knew each other's stuff. They could bear each other's burdens. And so this becomes not only something that is a good idea, but a biblical necessity if we want to be the first century church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree, man. And our world is moving so fast.
Oh, that's
to where,
true. Yeah.
we feel as if we don't have time to, just check in on one another, send somebody a simple text like, "Hey, how are you doing?" or spend time with you. My elders and sometimes we joke at a university. Somebody like, "Oh man, they're going too long on the sermon." They're like, "Yeah, y'all gonna be out there talking anyway."
That's
after
right.
service. And that's what building relationships is all about. Like, spending more time with people, outside of the worship services, which we're going to get into today.
Good.
But I feel like when we just slow down and can see and understand people's needs and are willing to connect with them rather than having to get to the next thing all the time. Like that thing is going to be there.
It's going to be there.
It's going to
Always.
be there.
Yep.
But let's slow down and try to, build that commonality as the first century church did.
Yeah.
And they were so intentional in doing it. And so when we can put these things down, right, and focus on one another and what we need, I think, this thing that we're going to be talking about today just becomes so much simpler for us.
Good.
And so, I'm very excited about the topic.
Awesome. Good. I'm looking forward to it too. And you've got some practical things you're going to share with us, and we as preachers can kind of stew on it and maybe foster opportunities where we can make some of these things happen. You've got an extensive list, and we're going to trim it down to like 5 or so, right?
Yes.
Some practical ways to foster deep connections in a congregation.
Yes, I encourage anybody who's like on PTP 365. I did a lesson on this very topic here this year's PTP. So when it comes out on 365, or a shameless plug there.
Shameless plug. No, but you can hear the full list there.
Yeah, you can hear the full list there. And also the PTP podcast that will come out for Sevierville. It'll be on there. So there were 10 tips that I gave, but we're going to truncate that down, as you said, to just 5. So I'll start with number 1, which I believe is the most important. Establish a sound biblical foundation. If we want to foster meaningful relationships and build community in general within our congregations, I believe we have to establish a sound biblical foundation. And in Acts chapter 2, verse 42, you brought up the early church, and in that great chapter with the early church's beginning, right? They had all things in common. Verse 42 says that they continued steadfast, or they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the doctrine, and to the breaking of bread, of fellowship, and of prayers. The first thing that you see in there that they did is that they devoted themselves, or they gave themselves over. They continue steadfastly to the teaching, which was built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, with Jesus Christ being our chief cornerstone, as it says in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. And so that's the number one thing I believe we have to do if we want to build community, build meaningful relationships, because if you don't have the Bible as your standard, if we don't have the scripture as our guide, that, hey, this is something that we always will go back to and reflect on. We'll start with it, but if there's ever any dissension, if there's ever any confusion, if there's ever any frustration, what does God's word have to say about it, right? And let's not get all up in arms about what's going on, right? Or a brother or a sister are, arguing with one another, or, there may be somebody who's caught up in sin, and we may not be so sure at the outset of how to deal with it. Let's sit down together and see what the Bible has to say. Good. And so we can build great community first around establishing a sound biblical foundation. Here's one of the reasons why I believe this is so important. Robert, how many elderships have we seen, and preachers that have just gone rogue and have not stuck to the scriptures, and what is the grand result? Well, you might have frustration and confusion, and sometimes it leads to church splits, because we don't have a sound biblical foundation. But if, the leaders, the shepherds, elders are leading out in front and doing what they have been tasked to do, as elders, they were appointed. One of the reasons why they were appointed is because, they have a sound biblical foundation. So if they aren't doing that, then, congregations can and have fallen because they haven't been walking in sound biblical pattern. So anything you want to
I like that too, because it reminds us, the teaching reminds us that we're a part of something that's so much bigger than ourselves. And so unity is more important than my opinion, my preferences. I just want to follow what the Lord says, and what has united us together. He says unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. It's unity of the Spirit. This is a unity that existed. It doesn't exist because we get together and decide, okay, we're all going to meet together at this same place on Sundays and Wednesdays. It's a unity that exists within the Godhead, and we're invited into that because we've been adopted as sons and daughters through Jesus.
Absolutely.
So we're a part of something bigger than ourselves.
We are. And the sooner we realize that, I think the better off we will be with maintaining this principle right here, which is
Good.
establishing. Well, first establish a sound biblical foundation, but also maintaining it. Like,
Good.
what are we striving to do?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And, we all know that God will find us approved if we stick to the scriptural pattern. And unfortunately, there have been congregations that have failed at building connections and meaningful relationships. People have, left congregations, I'm sad to say, because they feel like the scriptural pattern has not been kept with wherever they are. So they go off and work somewhere else, right? They go to another congregation. And so you've missed out on the opportunity of building a relationship with that one soul or with that one family, right? Maybe a set of 4 or 5 people in that family have now gone, and now your work at that local congregation is suffering because, hey, they might have been doing X, Y, and Z, and now you've got to try to find somebody else to fill that void. It's like a domino effect.
That's right. What I also appreciate about this point is it shines a light on the fact that the doctrine isn't just some kind of stoic system of teaching. It gets down to the heart and actually dictates my relationships. It helps me to understand how to relate to other people.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that, man, so much. And it's so much easier for us to relate to each other when we're all walking in the same mind.
Yeah.
By the same rule.
We got the same goal, the same hopes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, I remember reading about a congregation and Corinth. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. I mean, they thought that they were of Peter. Some were saying they were, or Cephas. Some were saying they were Apollos.
Paul.
Some were saying they were Paul. But Paul was saying, no, absolutely not. Who he was saying, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5 and following. Who then is Apollos? Who then is Paul? He said, we're just laborers. If you don't mind paraphrasing, he says, I planted, Apollos watered, but it's God who gives the growth. You see. Yeah. The one who plants and the one who waters, they're one, but it's God who gives the increase. So whether you're planting or you're watering, you're still following the scriptural pattern as God has called you to work. Yes. But understanding who is the one who gets the glory, and that's God. And when we stick to the scriptural pattern, egos will go aside. Dan Winkler yesterday, I think you know him.
I've met him a time or two.
He talked about pride during this PTP. He talked about being haughty and arrogance. And B.J. Clark did a fine job on that as well, on hypocrisy and all that. But all of that goes out the window when we stick to the scriptural pattern, and we can build connections, relationships easier within our congregations. Good. So that's number one.
Okay,
and
that's good.
So number two builds off of the first one, which is establishing a biblical foundation, and that is embracing a gospel culture. Okay. Embracing gospel culture.
Gospel culture.
And Philippians 1:27, Paul, writing to the church at Philippi, and being mindful of how he would find them when he came to them. He says in verse 27, only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel. You see, there's a relational language there. Paul says that you are striving side by side for the faith of the gospel, which means that it's not a one-sided affair. How many times, Robert, have we heard that, this is just a preacher's job? This is just the elder's job, or this is just a job for the deacons. I know this is preachers in ministry, so I know a lot of us have probably heard, we've got our preacher over there. He can take care of it. Oh, we've got our preacher. You see him over there? He can set up the Bible study. No, why can't you do it? Embracing a gospel culture means that all of us have a goal in this. We all have a role to play in embracing a gospel culture. And as I talked to the audience, to talk to the members today during this lesson, I was talking about how this starts at the top. Shepherds or elders, they have to embrace this notion of establishing a gospel culture. and they also have to be an example themselves, as 1 Peter chapter 5, 1 through 3 tells us. So how in the world are congregations going to be involved in, building or enabling a gospel culture if even the elders, we don't even see it in the elders themselves?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So it has to start at the top. Anything with leadership, it starts at the top. And so I believe when our congregations are set on building a gospel culture, then it will not be hard for people to see easily who we are, right? And why we do what we do. As followers of Christ, we need to show people, once again, why we are who we are and why we do what we do. And we show them that we stand on the gospel. And as I mentioned in the class, is that there's a reason why we don't look like the world, Robert. There's a reason why we don't allow things in the world to be so pervasive within the congregation. And there's also a reason why we don't allow false teachers to come into our congregations, why we put them to shame. Titus 1:9. It's because we stand on the gospel. And if we don't stand on the gospel, once again, we can forget about fostering connections and building those connections and deep relationships within our congregations. We got to show, before Paul say in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 1 through 4, about the importance of, standing on the gospel in order for us to maintain our salvation. He says, I deliver to you, brothers, that which I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures, and that he was raised, he was buried on the first day. But first of all, he says that the gospel which you received and by which you heard and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word that I preached to you, if you hold fast to it, unless you believed in vain. So Paul is telling us that we have to hold fast to the gospel if we don't want to miss out on our salvation. See, he says a lot about, the once saved, always saved doctrine right there in that text. And so what we have to do in our congregations is show that we are always going to hold on to the gospel and show the community that we are serious about uplifting the banner of Christ.
And that will also be seen in the optimism with which we live, the hope-filled lives that we have.
Absolutely.
I mean, to be gospel-centered people means we really believe not just in, you got to do this, which is true. We've got to send this message around to as many people as possible, but also look at how rich life is when you live in the gospel light.
I love that so much because, as my father-in-law customarily says, and I love him so much for saying it.
Ed Berry, by the way.
Ed Berry.
We'll drop the names.
Yes. I think y'all might know him too. He's been on the podcast.
He has.
But love that guy for all that he does in his work. But he says, people need to realize, or they should realize, that you can live your best life now by living by the gospel. If you live, and so that's something that I think a lot of folks would be much better off if they understood, is that if you live by the gospel and maintain the principles that the gospel tells us to uphold, you can be living your best life. Not now, or things are always going to be roses and sunflowers and daisies. No, absolutely not. You love those unicorns. My son, just a little sidebar. The other day, my son asked me who can ride unicorns. He's 4. And so I was like, do I tell him now that unicorns don't exist? And then we have a whole deep discussion.
What did you say? You're like, we'll talk about it later.
Yes. But going back to the point, embracing the gospel culture, once again, it enables us to foster those deep connections in any size congregations, no matter what it may be. We've got to show people that we don't stand for anything. We don't stand on fluff. Like we embrace the gospel. Paul said that's of first importance. 1 Corinthians 15. It's of first importance. So we show people what's most important to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the standing on the gospel.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's number 2. We've got 7 more. I'm just kidding.
7 more.
Here's a third one. And once, no particular order, but
Okay.
evolve into a loving culture.
Okay.
How can we foster deep connections in our congregations, evolve into a loving culture? Now, some of us, we've been in congregations that are very stoic and can be kind of stifling, and you wonder, okay, does love exist within this place?
Yeah.
We're all familiar with the first and second commandment, I believe, that Jesus said in Matthew 23, 36, 39, or 22, sorry, where there was
22.
Matthew 22, where there was a lawyer who came to Jesus and said, "Hey, teacher, what's the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said, "Hey, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind." Shema, Deuteronomy 6:5, and then he said the second is like it: you should love your neighbor as yourself. Well, wow. He says, on these two depend on all the law and the prophets. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so one thing to know that, but it's another thing to actually do it. I've had people come to us, after our services. They may be visiting from somewhere else, and they say, "Oh man, there's just so much joy within this congregation." And I'm sure you get that at Henderson too.
Yeah.
There's just so much warmth and love, and the people really feel like they love one another. They really feel like it feels like they enjoy being around each other, And I think, that's because, once again, it starts at the top. Our elders have done a great job at cultivating an environment where just love has to be permeating throughout this place. Like, at the least you will experience when you come here is if you're a visitor, you're going to get a hug from somebody. We just love having you here, right? We just love that you're here. And that's not to say that our congregation is the best, or we're the best in the brotherhood. No, our leaders, our elders, shepherds have done a great job at cultivating that environment over time, so that it's just natural. But when folks say that about our congregations, I feel like that should not be the exception within our congregations. That should be the norm. That should be the norm. Whenever a visitor comes into a congregation, whether they're visiting or they're there for a certain period of time, people might be in preaching school, they might be at a congregation for 6 months to a year. They should feel love wherever they go. John chapter 13, Jesus said something very distinctive and very unique to his disciples. He says, how they will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. How are people going to know that we're followers of Jesus? How are we going to build connections within our congregations if we don't have love for one another? Like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Love is supreme. That great love chapter in 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 7. Paul talks about just how love is elevated. Faith, hope, love, these things abide. But the greatest thing is love. And I think that this is so vital for us to understand, because if we don't, then we could be majoring in everything else, right? And leave the most important thing behind, which is love. Like, you might be a preacher, you might be someone who can quote a whole lot of scriptures, you might be someone who knows the Bible really well, but if you do not have love for your fellow man, don't have love within that congregation, and is willing to cultivate that, and you can forget about fostering deep connections within your congregation. They'll be thrown out the window.
People want to be seen. They want to have attention. They want to be supported. Are you going to be there for me when I need you?
Yeah.
They want to feel like they belong. Is there a
Yes.
place for me here?
Yes.
And what you're speaking to here is certainly that way. And that's not just that includes our guests who show up, but that also includes the people who have been in the pews maybe even
Absolutely.
for 20 or 30 years.
Absolutely.
They want attention, belonging, and support to ensure that, and all that is fostered out of this concept you're talking about here of love. Everybody's going to know you're my disciples, which means that love isn't just something that we feel or we think. It's something that we show. There's a sacrificial element to it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
And to that point, one great brother that I think of him very highly, and I say, hey, he's like one of my best friends. Now, my wife, my honey, my bride, she's my best friend. But it's as preachers, we need close companions, other preachers that we can. And he says, Sundays are going to come. The sermons need to be written, all that.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody who needs a need, like they knock on my door, like if it's a member who needs something, and there's an opportunity for me to connect with them, I'm going to do it.
That's right.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because building that relationship with them is most important. What's that old saying? People don't care about how much you know until you show how much you care.
That's right.
Like, love is just littered all throughout that quote, man.
That's it.
And so folks are not going to care about what I have to say on Sunday morning if I don't show them throughout the week or, months or years gone by how much I love them.
Yeah. To that point, too, we're talking to preachers here, right? As you've said several times, all leadership was going to set the tone. But, guys, we, as preachers, we set the tone, too. And we do that through visiting people who are sick and who are in the hospital or who are grieving or who are just going through tough times. Yeah. We also do that by being impartial, by showing everybody love, shaking everybody's hand as much as we can. And like you said, depending on the context, or, you may have a group of 30, 35 people and still not really be able to meaningfully connect with everybody who is a part of that congregation. And so we just have to really dig deeply and try our best to show other people the heart of Jesus as much as we have that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And
Good.
That just bleeds into my next
the
next one.
Number 4.
Which is, ensure nobody's left behind.
Yeah.
No one is left behind. You go to congregation and, you greet everybody that you're accustomed to seeing on a regular basis or that you're greeting. Hey, sister so-and-so. Hey, brother so-and-so. How was that game last night? Or how the kids doing, right? You talk to them all of the time. These are people that you have been accustomed to greeting, that you're very familiar with them. They make you comfortable. You make them comfortable. Maybe they're great encouragers, right?
Yeah.
But in Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, Paul talks about that, we should look on the interests of others, and we have to look after others' needs, put others' needs before our own. And that's really emphasizing how we need to make sure that everybody's needs is looked after. Right? Everybody is taken care of. So what do you do about the quiet person in our congregations? I know you see Henderson, I know is a great big congregation, right? So you might have one or two people, even in our congregations, that maybe are sitting in the back of the pews, right, or maybe they're sitting in the middles.
The back row is prime real estate, man. Ain't nobody going to the front row.
That's it. I don't know what it is about the back row, man. But you maybe there's a small or a quiet person, probably timid, who nobody really talks to, and nobody really notices.
Yep.
Maybe except for, say, one or two people. And then the next thing you know, the elders may get up and make an announcement that that person's placed membership elsewhere. And you're like, oh, my gosh, they were members here?
There they go. Yeah.
I had no idea that they even were here. Why is that? It's because we've become so familiar and got acquainted and accustomed to the people, once again, that we're comfortable with, that we don't take the time to notice that person over there who might be struggling.
Yeah, that's right.
Who might just need a prayer, who might just need some words of encouragement. And we would know that if we took the time to get to know everyone. Now, I understand that sometimes that can be hard, right?
Yeah.
Getting to know everybody. And well, what I am saying is just notice them.
Yes.
Jesus,
That's right.
Jesus would have.
And
So let's
and
do
try
that.
to learn their names. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to. You may not be able to remember everybody's name, but if you go to your church directory or directory app. Man, I love the directory app. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But you go in there, and then the people that you encounter that you don't know, just say, hey, remind me of your name.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. People won't be offended.
They're not offended by that. And that's the way that we begin to look out to the interests of other people. It starts by just saying, you're important. I want to know your name. I want to know what's going on in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
I agree. Well, last one here.
Okay.
As we round down this episode, engage at events outside of worship services.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to have those people's names firmly fixated in your mind.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, unless I talk to you on a regular basis, please forgive me. I may forget your name.
I may forget it.
Yeah, I may forget your. But even Jesus, he was willing to engage at social gatherings.
He was.
In John chapter 2, the wedding at Cana in Galilee is just one small example where he performed his first miracle. But the gathering enabled him to teach spiritual truths, right? And meet people that he probably wouldn't have otherwise if it didn't go. He wouldn't, if he stayed in his own corner, right, did his own thing with his own disciples.
He certainly wasn't antisocial.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to bring out with this one is that engaging at events outside of worship services allows us to continue to build those meaningful relationships and build that rapport.
Yep.
We have a gentleman at University Church of Christ where I serve and labor, who's the head varsity football coach for one of the more well-known programs in the country.
Yeah, wow. Great.
And a couple of years ago, I got involved with the team, and I was asked to do devotionals. So, I give small talks to the team before the game. I travel with them sometimes. I call myself the unofficial team chaplain. I'm the unofficial team chaplain.
I love that. That's great.
Only thing is, they're not putting me on the payroll, but that's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. I get to connect with these young men, and it's awesome. It's awesome. But a couple of years ago, the starting quarterback and his mom started visiting our congregation. And I've taken him out to lunch, and I was able to set up a Bible study with her. Now, several other people had tried, and I guess I was the one that she felt sorry for. She was like, "Man, y'all are beating me down so much. I guess I'll have a Bible study with you." Well, we did all of three Bobby bases back to the Bible. Books, all three of them, and we got through lesson 3, and she eventually was baptized for the remission of her sins.
Great.
But here's a beautiful thing. There was a seed planted and a lot of watering going on. Like they kept coming to the congregation. She kept seeing people pour into her son, showing up to the games. I believe she thought, man, there's something distinctive about these people, right? And us just showing up allowed for us to a way for us to implant the gospel into her heart, and so she eventually obeyed. And so what I'm trying to emphasize here is that when we can show up to things like graduations or athletic events, it says, hey, that preacher or this brother or sister cares about me so much that they're willing to take time out of their busy schedule to show me support. And that goes a long way. They say one of the reasons why young people, Lifeway Research did a study on this several years ago and found that one of the reasons young people leave the church is because they don't feel like they have a sense of community there, or they don't feel support. And so, if it's a small thing for us to just take some time out. Once again, Sundays are going to come. You've got to write the sermon. You've got to minister. But this is also a form of ministry.
Yes,
just showing up. Showing up.
Yeah.
So those are some key things that I believe we can do to foster deep connection within our congregations, and at the end of the day, and even at the beginning of the day, we want to show communities that we're all about loving one another, and those outside, when they come in, they will see that there's something distinctive and special and unique about these people. I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
Like, so what do I sign up?
Yeah,
Can I have a Bible study with you?
Yeah.
All right. Now, let me teach you how you do become added to the Lord's church, and then you can become a part of us. But we just love when people get to experience what we have going on, how we have developed those deep connections over time. It takes work.
Yeah.
It takes work, but over time, if you're intentional about it, it will pay off.
I love it. Well, these are some good things for us to consider and to be reminded, like you've pointed out, that all this is right in the gospel. If we'll just teach the gospel and then live it out, we'll get there the way we're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely. That. Yes. And once again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you, Dean. Always appreciate you and the encouragement that you and your whole family gives to us and to our work. We appreciate you a lot.
Likewise.
Wish you the
guys
very,
mean so much
very
to
best.
us.
Hey, before we go, if you're a regular listener to the show, then chances are you cared very deeply about Scripture, about spiritual growth, about living out your faith with intention. And while this podcast is a great way to keep learning, maybe it's time to take an even deeper step. At Freed-Hardeman University, you can pursue a graduate degree in theology that challenges your mind, shapes your heart, and equips your ministry. With 5 master's degrees, 1 doctorate, and even a certificate program, FHU's Graduate School of Theology blends academic depth, spiritual formation, and real-world ministry training. Courses are delivered online in real time, so you can join live discussions with professors and classmates without having to relocate or give up your current work or ministry. And right now, FHU is waiving all application fees and offering scholarships to make the path even more accessible. If you or somebody you know is ready to grow in knowledge and faith, take a look at fhu.edu/grad theology. fhu.edu/grad theology. Want to spread the word about that? Dean knows a thing or two about that, don't you?
Yes. I'm in the grad school of theology right now, so I can attest to all those things.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us. Let's go preach the word.